Hello guys, Robot1 here, coming to you with a new Yu-Gi-Oh video, and in today's Yu-Gi-Oh video we have some more support for Dogmatica lore archetypes. Like, we've got 5 new of the Icejade cards, the weird water deck that likes to send water monsters from hand to graveyard to gain specific effects, and also can like banish themselves from graveyard to special summon other Icejade monsters. We've got a new Swordsoul card as well, and also a new branded spell according to what this says here. I actually haven't read any of these cards, so I don't know what they're going to do, I don't know what they are, and I don't know how they're going to improve their respective archetypes. Like, Icejades, when I first read them, like, they had a rotor, they didn't really do much, so I didn't really think much of them. And like Swordsoul is just an insane archetype in general, so the new card might be really good for them. And also, a branded spell is interesting because the branded is actually an interesting, well, archetype within the Dogmatica lore, seeing as it goes along with the Despia, goes along with the Dogmatica, it goes along with pretty much every relevant archetype in the story of the Dogmatica lore. So I'm kind of interested to see what these cards are. So we're going to go through these, we're going to read them, and I'm hoping they're going to be really, really good. So let's go ahead and start off and see if they've made Icejade any better. So right off the bat, we've got a level 10 monster. God, please make this easy to summon. So this is Cosmocroic, the Icejade Imperatrix. Okay, long ass name, that is very hard to say. Cool. Level 10, Aqua effect monster, 1500 attack, 3000 defense monster. So it's a big butt monster. Cool. First effect, if this card is, if there is a face up card in the field spell zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. Okay, so pretty easy to summon, like it's not the hardest thing. And it's an inherent summon as well, because it's being special summoned like it would, Cyber Dragon would be special summoned, so that's interesting. Second effect, monsters your opponent controls cannot activate their effects on the field while Inian Cradle the Icejade Depths is on the field except the turn they were summoned. Okay, so if you control the Inian Cradle the Icejade Depths, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters they control except the turn they were something. Like, I guess that's a good way to get around Omni Negate effects. Like, you go ahead and activate the field spell, then you go ahead and summon this, and like, oh, that all those negates are just negated. So, well, they're not negated, but you can't activate them. So, okay, like, I guess it's a decent card. It's not as bad as Mystic Mind per se, but we'll see. We'll see what the field spell actually does. So third effect, if your Icejade monster battles an opponent's monster, that opponent's monster loses 1000 attack during damage calculation only. Okay, so you can basically make all your Icejades slightly, well, all your opponent's monsters slightly weaker than your Icejade monsters. Like, I don't know. I don't really like it. Like, it's a good card, don't get me wrong, because this card in hindsight is actually really good. This is something that you could use in a lot of different decks. Like, personally, I could see this being potentially a side deck card for like big water decks, because if you're playing field spells in them, it's just a free water monster, or maybe a main deck, I don't know. It's just like, I don't think it's that good. I don't know. It's just like, if it was any field spell, I guess it'd be really, really good and would be definite side deck in every single deck, but I don't know, I just don't like this. I don't think it's a good card. Like, we'll have to see what the field spell does first, but for Icejades, I don't really have much of a high opinion on them. So we'll have to see what else they do first. So we've got Icejade, Egel of the Icejade. So this lovely little girl right here, okay. So level 3 Aqua effect monster, 1000 attack, 2000 defense. Okay. First effect, if this card is normal special summon, you can add 1 Icejade spell trap from your deck to your hand. Okay, so it's basically a rotor for any of the Icejade spell traps. Currently, to my knowledge, there is only 1 and the field spell now, so that makes 2. There's the rotor spell, and then there's going to be the field spell, so I'm curious to see what it's done. And did it have Icejade in it? It did have Icejade on it. I've just got to confirm, because I'm just like, I'm not too sure how I feel about this deck. So second effect, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets this card, or when an opponent's monster declares an attack on this card, quick effect, you can special summon 1 water monster from your hand or graveyard except Agel of the Icejade, but return it to the hand during the end phase. Also, the next time this card would be destroyed by battle card effect, this turn, it is not destroyed. So you can special summon 1 water monster from your hand or graveyard. but you return it to your hand during the end phase, and you can also just protect this from being destroyed. So, like, it's not bad. Like, your opponent targets it, you get a free special summon. Your opponent attacks, you get a free special summon, it doesn't die by battle. Like, or card effect, for instance. Like, it's not a bad effect. Like, that's actually a pretty decent effect, especially when any water monster. Like, personally, I could see this being maybe a generic card in a lot of water decks, but it's just the fact that, as a lot of you guys know on the channel, I don't really like effects that target. If it said, obviously, if it said that, oh, whenever your opponent activates a card or effect, or if your opponent attacks this card, then that would be very, very dumb, just having an effect that just says, oh yeah, I activate an effect, well, I get a free monster because you activate an effect. That would be very, very dumb, but I don't know. I just don't really like target effects, but in this case, I guess it makes sense. So, not bad. Agel is pretty decent. It's like Spell and Trap Roar and also just a free special summon card, so not the end of the world. And we've got another big level monster here. So, level 9, Kingfisher, the Icejade ship. Okay, interesting. Level 9, Water Aqua effect, 2500 attack, 2500 defense. First effect, you can target one more monster you control, equip this card from your hand or field to that target. It's not a Union monster, but it's got a Union monster effect. Okay. Interesting. The Icejade ship is cool. Second effect, an Icejade monster equipped with this card can attack while in face-up defense position. So, you're making it super heavyweight samurais now? Okay. If it does apply its defense for damage calculation, yeah, it's generally just making every Icejade a super heavyweight samurai. Okay, like, I don't know. I don't know where Konami are going with this archetype. I just don't like it. I really don't like how Konami are making this archetype so far, because, like, the cards are very, very weird. So, third effect, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls with attack equal to or less than the equipped monster's defense. Special summon this card, and if you do, return that target to the hand. So, you just target an opponent's monster with attack equal or less than the equipped monster's defense. So if you've got it equipped to, say, our lovely Imperatrix right here, if it's got less than 3k attack, then you just go ahead and return that monster to the hand, and you just get to go ahead and then special summon this card. So, well, you special summon this card, and if you do, return that target to the hand. So, not bad. Like, the last effect is pretty decent. Like, being able to equip it, then being able to do that is actually pretty decent, I won't lie. Literally just equip it. Just equip this to a summoned one, return the opponent's monster to hand, and summon this card. It's pretty decent. It's basically just a free summon for a level 9. I have no issues with that. I just don't really like this archetype so far. Like, the first wave of support was pretty interesting, and I was curious where they were going to go with it, but like, the best part about these supports right now, I would say, is that you got a Spell and Trap Searcher, and like a potential just, oh, you can't negate me on my turn. Like, that's all I really see here. But it's not like that's a bad thing. It's just not the best for like an archetype like this. But let's see what the field spell does. Okay, so Inion Cradle the Icejade Depths. Okay, and you've got like you've got Albez there in his dragon form with what looks to be Ecclesia, I think, in there. That's cool. So, first effect, when this card resolves, you can add one Icejade monster that is banished or in your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so it's kind of like a recyclability card. I was hoping to say add from your deck to your hand, but okay, interesting. So, second effect, once per turn, if a monster is normal or special summoned, you can target one more monster you control. That target and all face-up monsters your opponent controls currently lose attack equal to that target's original attack until the end of this turn. Okay. Okay, interesting. So if your opponent just summons something, you just target any of your war monsters and you decrease their attacks. So this deck is pretty much, the vibe of this deck is making sure your opponent's attack is low so you can just beat over their stuff. And also because the defense points is high, you want to have like the lovely Icejade ship here to be able to attack with defense position monsters and potentially also return those monsters to the hand. So I don't know, I feel like it's interesting. I don't really think it's a great card. Inion Cradle is interesting at best. I don't think it's the greatest card ever made, but like, it's Icejade. Like, I can't really complain too much. It's got an interesting effect, it's got an interesting premise, and I don't know how Konami are going to make more support for this deck. I hope they do, because from what I've seen, I don't think it's good enough. I feel like at best you would be running the original cards in like Mermail, and maybe even this in Mermail, but outside of that, I really don't think it's the best archetype so far from the Dogmatica lore. Like, it's a bit better than the Spriggans maybe, but I don't know. And it looks like we've got a trap card here, which is Icejade Erosion, which looks like we've got like a new Albez? Wait, like a new Despia monster there? Like, I want to see that. Yeah, no, that's a Swordsoul, okay. So Swordsouls are invading the Icejades? Interesting, okay. Continuous trap. You can target one face-up card your opponent controls, destroy one Icejade monster you control, and if you do, negate that target's effects until the end of this turn. That's a terrible effect. You go -1 to negate something, and I've not seen a single relevant effect here, outside from the original Icejade monsters that say, okay, if it's destroyed by card or effect, then you get to special summon one from your hand or graveyard. Like, if it's on the original Icejade monsters, I guess, but these ones, nah, nothing. And is it by opponent's effect? I'll quickly just check. So, if this card is destroyed by battle card effect, yeah. So it is. I pulled them up before the video just so I could remind myself what they did. But yeah, like, this isn't good in these. But if you're talking to the original Icejade, I guess it's okay. But I would rather not go -1 to be able to negate something. And I guess actually, you know what? I guess if you're summoning the lovely Imperatrix here, then it's worth it. But I don't know. I don't like killing my stuff to negate stuff. But what's the second effect? If a face-up water monsters you control leaves the field by your opponent except by being destroyed, you can take one Icejade monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Okay. Like, I wish it didn't have the clause except by destroyed, because that basically means if your opponent attacks it, if your opponent Raigekis it, or if your opponent does something just to kill it, then you don't get anything back from that. You just see your monster die, but I guess it makes sense for that to happen, because if it was by destroyed, then you would essentially get a +2 from literally just killing your own Icejade monster. So, like, it would literally make this card absolutely busted, because whenever your Icejade monster is destroyed, you can basically go plus really, really far. But honestly, I wouldn't think that's bad for this archetype, because honestly, this archetype so far isn't the best anyway. So, like, honestly, this is just a very bad Yangzing path. Yeah, the Yangzing continuous trap card that says when a Yangzing is destroyed, you special summon a Yangzing. Like, it's just a worse version of that. I think this is pretty decent. Like I'm not gonna lie, going -1 to potentially summon back another Icejade does make sense to me. And also getting a negate out of it is pretty decent, but I don't know, maybe if they got rid of the target, it would make it, like, better, because, like, oh, you just negate one face-up card your opponent controls. Like, that's pretty decent, and it is any card, so, like, if your opponent activates a spell, for instance, you can just go ahead and target that spell and negate it, but you know, there's certain things that I like in this game, and I feel like this card isn't the best card, but it definitely has potential in the Icejade deck, and it's definitely a decent card for the archetype overall. Like, negate, free special summons, there's nothing bad about that in any way, shape, or form. So, interesting card. I don't think it's amazing, but it's not bad. And then we go on to the new Swordsoul card right here, which is Qing's Zlong Yuan, the Swordsoul Catastrophe. Okay, so you are a Catastrophe. You are a level 10 Fire Worm Synchro Effect monster, 2900 attack, 2300 defense. 1 tuner plus 1 or one plus non-tuner worm monsters. Gotta speak properly, don't I? First effect, if you Synchro Summon another worm monster, you draw 1 card. Okay, that's not bad. So if you Synchro Summon in addition to this, you get to draw an additional card each turn. Like, that's not bad. Not bad at all. If your opponent special summons a monster, you can banish 1 of them, and if you do, inflict 1200 points of damage to your opponent. Interesting. Interesting. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about, you know, letting your opponent just special summons a monster and you just banish it. Like, that's a very good effect, but it's like we've already had effects in the game similar to that, like the Tenyi Berserker, where if your opponent activated a monster effect, it was just negated and destroyed. So, don't know how I feel about that, but it's a pretty decent card, plus the additional 1200 burn is actually really nice. Third effect, when your opponent activates a spell or trap or trap card or effect, quick effect, you can banish this card, and if you do, inflict 1200 points of damage to your opponent. Okay, that is the worst part of the card. And I'll explain why. I'll explain why that is the worst part of this card. You can banish... Oh no, it's not the worst part of the card. I'm an idiot. I thought it meant banish this card, but it's banish that card. And if you do, inflict 1200 points of damage to your opponent. So, that's actually insane. Like, oh, you're going to activate... You're going to special summon a monster. Sick. Banish it. Burn. Oh, you're going to activate spell or trap. Sick. Banish it. Burn. That's actually really good. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, oh, yeah, you can get a free draw whenever you synchro summon, you can negate, you can banish anything that's special summon, and you can also banish any spell trap card and just burn your opponent. Like, that, you know what, when I misread that, that was bad, or misthought it, and then now I'm just like, yeah, this card is actually sick. Like, do I think the card is a 10 out of 10 must run in every deck? No, not at all, not at all. The card is very, very strong, but it's not needed for every deck. But this card is a generically very good card, especially when you're in time on the round. So if you just summon this and you're going into time, your opponent can do nothing, because as soon as they do something, they lose the game. Like, generally, because if they don't activate a spell card, and they don't summon a monster, special summon a monster that's bigger than this, they just lose. So it's just like, that's actually really, really cool. So honestly, interesting card, interesting effects. I actually think this is a pretty decent card, in my opinion. And we've got one more card here, which is the Swordsoul Sati. No, there was more? Oh, I thought that we were only going to get one Swordsoul card. Okay, interesting. So, first effect, if a card becomes banished, you can banish one Worm, Synchro Monster, or one Swordsoul card from your hand, deck, or graveyard, or either field. Okay, not bad, because of the spells and traps do have trigger effects when they're banished to increase or decrease levels, so that's interesting. Second effect, if this card becomes banished, you can special summon one Swordsoul token. Okay, you cannot special summon monster from the extract while you control it, except Synchro Monster. That is actually really, really good. Like, you can just go ahead, like, literally, if a card becomes banished, you get to banish one Worm Synchro Monster from your deck. So you can banish literally any card in your deck, and if you banish something, you can trigger this, which will allow you to banish a copy of this, to then go ahead and trigger it to get another Swordsoul token. So, actually, very good card, very strong card. Sad, it's a trap, because you can't just, like, instantly activate it turn one, but, honestly, pretty decent, and that's interesting. The Swordsoul here with the Icejade is fighting against the Swordsoul of Catastrophe? Okay, that's interesting lore right there. So there's evil Swordsouls here as well. Interesting. I didn't think we would have, like, evil Swordsouls. That's actually kind of cool. Kind of cool. Let's continue on. So the last card I'm hoping, yeah, this is the last card. So is Servants of the Branded, which is a continuous spell card. And its first effect is, while you control a level 8 or higher Fiend Fusion monster, you can negate any effect of a monster with currently 0 attack / or defense, activated by your opponent. Okay, so this is going in tandem with a lot of the branded stuff, having effects that will decrease your opponent's attack to 0, such as the level 8 fusion that can just quick effect during the main phase make all monsters opponent's monsters attack 0. So that's actually a pretty decent effect there. And second effect, at the end of a damage step, if 2 monsters with 0 attack battled, you can destroy the opponent's battling monster. You know what? That's surprising. I didn't expect to see that, because normally if 2 0 attack point monsters clash, they don't die. But in this case, your opponents would die. So that's actually pretty interesting. So honestly, not the best card. I'll be completely honest with you guys. This card is not an amazing card. This isn't a great card. Like, it's got an interesting effect on it where it can just negate any monster effect with 0 attack. But at the same time, its second effect, like, it kills the opponent's monster if it had 0 attack and yours has 0 attack. But honestly, not the best. But guys, that is actually all the cards we have to talk about here. Like, honestly, looking at all of them, the Icejade, they haven't really gotten a lot of amazing support. Like, they haven't got everything that I wish they could have gotten from, like, the original cards that we saw. Like, this is interesting. It has the ability to just go ahead and say, oh, yeah, I go ahead and summon an Icejade. I go ahead and stop monsters from using their effects. I go ahead and summon myself from the hand. I get to go ahead and decrease opponent's attack points. This is like a rota for spell and trap cards, which is decent, and a free summon as well, which is actually kind of nice. Like, nothing wrong with that there. And you also got, like, the weird ship that just says, oh, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, just hurt you for no reason. But, like, yeah, that's alright. And then you've also got, like, defense, which makes it super heavyweight samurai and can also return stuff from the field to the hand, which is nice. The field spell, not the best, but you need it for the main boss monster of the deck, so that's kind of cool. The trap card, interesting, destroys an Icejade, so negates an effect, which is pretty good, and also can summon more Icejades from the deck. This card is a pretty decent level 10 Synchro. Do I think it's top of the meta? No, not really. Do I think it's good? Yes, it's pretty decent. It's pretty decent in a lot of reasoning there. And then you've also got stuff like this new Swordsoul Sati, which is just like, oh, yeah, I get to go ahead and banish any card from my deck. Oh, if this card is banished, I summon a token. Pretty decent. And then you got the weird branded spell that isn't very good, but guys, that is all I actually have to say for this video. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you do like this new branded Icejade Swordsoul support. Like, it's all very different and all very interesting, and I hope you did enjoy it. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. I'll see you guys in the next one, and tell me all your thoughts on the new branded, the new Icejades, and the new Swordsoul support, because I'd love to hear all your thoughts and opinions. But guys, I'll see you in the next one. Robot1 signing out. Check out all the links in the description. Later all.